5 seconds to go. Start. In the circumstances, it is concluded and held that section 24 does not take within its scope, nor does it apply to acquisitions which have been initiated under the provisions of any other enactment, particularly, state enactment, such as, BDA Act. Stop. The said section is restricted to only those acquisitions which have been initiated under the provisions of the LA Act, 1894 only. Stop. Subject to compliance of the conditions mentioned under subsection 2 of section 24, the landowner would be entitled to the deeming provision regarding lapse of acquisition and not otherwise. Stop. Para. We are in complete agreement with this judgment of the High Court. Stop. Para. We may also notice here that the learned single judge of the High Court has not followed the judgment in Offshore Holdings Private Limited Supra, wherein it was clearly held that the provisions of the LA Act are applicable to the BDA Act by incorporation. Stop. Para. In view of the above, the learned judge of the High Court in Shri Sudhakar Hegde Supra was not justified in holding that the provisions of LA Act that are made applicable to the BDA Act are in the nature of legislation by reference. Stop. The learned judge has also added in holding that in view of the repeal of LA Act by coming into force of 2013 Act, the corresponding provisions of 2013 Act would regulate acquisition proceedings under the BDA Act, and that this would include determination of compensation in accordance with 2013 Act. Stop. Para. At the outset, it is submitted that the Bangalore city needs the peripheral ring road more than ever in view of the phenomenal growth of the city in all directions. Stop. The geographical extent of the city has grown to 2,196 square kilometers. Stop. The vehicle count as of 2019 was over 80 lakhs. Stop. Bangalore being the capital city, thousands of vehicles come in every day from various parts of the state as well as outside the state. Stop. There is enormous pressure on city roads and public transport system is overstressed. Stop. The PRR will greatly reduce the stress and congestion in the city roads. Stop. The government is very keen to facilitate the early execution of the PRR. Stop. Para. Notifications, both preliminary and final, have been issued by the BDA for acquisition of the lands for the PRR, and several writ petitions were filed before the High Court of Karnataka challenging these notifications. Stop. Once such writ petition was WP number 4550 of 2008 Shri Sudhakar Hegde and others versus the state of Karnataka and others close. Stop. Several other similar matters were clubbed along with the said writ petition. Stop. Learned single judge of the Karnataka High Court decided these matters on 22nd July 2014. Stop. The questions formulated in the said cases were as under. Stop. Para. Whether the repeal of the Land Acquisition Act 1894, has the effect of frustrating any proceedings with reference to section 36 of the BDA Act. Stop. Para. Whether the acquisition proceedings can be said to have lapsed by virtue of the right to fair compensation and transparency in Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act, 2013 having come into force. Stop.